One evening, while I was on the train heading home, I experienced a chilling encounter that left me with a deep sense of unease. The train was relatively empty, and as I neared my stop, I glanced up from my phone to see a young man at the other end of the carriage observing me. On the surface, he appeared like any ordinary person. Normal attire, a neutral expression. Yet, an inexplicable feeling washed over me. It was as though an ominous aura surrounded him, and I sensed his intentions were far from benign. Immediately, I stashed my phone away, gripped my bag tighter, and tried to appear nonchalant as the train approached my stop. Timing it precisely, I hesitated before exiting, observing the young man's reaction. As the doors opened, I subtly delayed my departure. Then, as I made my move to disembark, he too swiftly rose and hurried out, just as the doors were closing, almost too hurriedly, as if it was an abrupt realization. With him slightly ahead, I cautiously followed behind, taking my time to ensure he was not able to get too far ahead of me. It was a strange, almost absurd, dance where every one of his slow steps was met with an equally sluggish pace from my side. His actions seemed calculated, indicating a desire for me to overtake him, but my instincts urged me to maintain a watchful eye. Realizing that being alone in a desolate subway tunnel at such an hour could be more precarious, I chose to pass him swiftly, just out of arm's reach. And, as expected, he followed my lead as I ascended the stairs. However, the station entrance held subway employees, and stepping out into the night would leave me with just him for company in a fairly empty area. My heart raced as I grappled with the predicament. To prevent him from knowing my destination, I turned abruptly, locking eyes with him. His instantaneous reaction was a poorly orchestrated facade of innocence, quickly followed by a retreat back down the opposite set of subway stairs, leading away from his prior path. It was a standoff. Either he feigned disorientation, or he realized that his sinister plans were in jeopardy and had to retreat. I lingered momentarily to ensure his retreat was genuine. As he glanced up towards me before disappearing onto the platform, a look of pure malevolence etched on his face sent a chill down my spine. I paused, keeping a watchful eye, allowing him to move away. Then, with a heightened awareness and a feeling of relief, I hastened my steps homeward, my senses vigilant, scanning my surroundings all the while. The encounter left me rattled, especially pondering what might have ensued if our paths had crossed differently. The harrowing realization that he might seek out another unsuspecting victim further gnawed at me. It was a sobering experience, leaving me unsettled and profoundly thankful for my gut instincts that saved me from an uncertain and potentially dangerous ordeal. Several years back, I had a morning that began innocuously but took a disturbing turn, reminding me of the incredible instincts of man's best friend. It was a day when I needed to drop off my car for repairs, and to ensure everything went smoothly, I set out at the early hour of 4 a.m. My plan was to make the drop, and with 5 miles lying between the repair shop and my home, I thought I'd use the opportunity to get my daily workout by running back. What made this journey unique was that I decided to bring our dog along, a charming 30-pound retriever mix, who until then had been the epitome of cuddles and playfulness. As I was jogging through the dimly lit streets of the old town in our city, my serene run took an unexpected turn. Out of nowhere, my usually quiet and gentle dog suddenly turned into a protective sentinel, barking furiously at a large lilac bush beside us. It was a sound so intense and fearsome that it almost seemed incongruous with his small size. Sensing something amiss, I cautiously stepped back, keeping a tight grip on the leash as my dog strained towards the bush, ready to defend. That's when a man emerged from the bushes, and my heart leaped into my throat. Swiftly, I warned him that I would release my dog if he didn't back off. The darkness masked the true size of my little protector, who, by his bark alone, seemed to have grown several sizes. Startled, the man began jogging away down the road, repeatedly looking back and hurling angry remarks, saying he was just a runner like me, and that I was overreacting. However, the streetlight revealed a curious sight about 100 meters away. The man was dressed in jeans, unlaced work boots, and a skeet hat, a peculiar attire for the warm July climate in the south. Trusting my gut instinct, I hastened to the nearest house illuminated by its porch light. Knocking urgently, I called the police from the porch, finding solace in the homeowner's support and my dog's unwavering protection. It was only then that the police confirmed several disturbing incidents. There had been 2 muggings and an attempted assault within a mere 3-block radius in the last couple of weeks. The gravity of the situation dawned on me, and I waited for my husband to pick me up while our devoted pup reveled in an extra special treat of steak for dinner. Since then, our dog's instincts have continued to amaze me. On several rare occasions, he's exhibited a similar reaction, notably when a workman arrived at our door, and my dog's uncharacteristic behavior made me wary. The man was insistent, but I trusted our dog's instincts and preferred to postpone the task. This valiant furry friend, who's typically an affectionate sweetheart, seemed to sense something off about the individual, reinforcing my faith in his ability to gauge situations. The experiences, even after all these years, have left an indelible mark. They serve as a potent reminder to trust my instincts and, in some instances, rely on the wisdom and protective nature of our 4-legged guardian. It was a rather nerve-wracking yet unexpectedly redemptive incident. I had bid farewell to my cousin, and only a block away, I suddenly realized that there was something else I needed to tell him. Hastily, I doubled back, but to my surprise, he was nowhere in sight. I began calling out for him, not realizing I was near the residence of the local track star and his friends, who were quite well known for their athleticism and popularity. Being from a small town, the track star was the only black individual I had ever come across at that time. And boy, was he fast. He had a string of state titles from high school, earning him the nickname Speed Demon. As I was shouting for my cousin, these 3 athletic figures interrupted me, demanding that I hush as I passed by the track star's house. Unintentionally defiant, I retorted with a sharp "screw you," thinking I was in safe territory. Alas, I was wrong. All 3 of them bolted out of the house and began chasing me. Picture this. I was a mere 90 pounds soaking wet, far from being the athletic type, and here I was, being pursued by these 3 strapping athletes. The chase began, and I poured every ounce of energy into fleeing, knowing full well that if they caught up, I was in for a real beating. The track star matched my pace for a while, but at a certain point, he stopped for some reason. I was petrified, running without pause until I reached the safety of my home. Come Monday, during lunch, as I sat on the bleachers, I saw the track star striding towards me. I couldn't move quickly enough, anticipating the worst. But to my absolute surprise, he greeted me with a smile and asked me to relax. Instead of unleashing a thrashing or retribution, he inquired, "Have you ever thought about joining the track team?" He went on to share with everyone around us the tale of how I managed to escape from him. And the reason he stopped. Apparently, he was astounded by my speed and exclaimed, "Holy smokes, that scrawny fellow is fast." As for joining the track team, I politely declined, confessing that my speed was purely fueled by fear rather than any athletic prowess. It was an unexpected conclusion to an episode that initially seemed headed for a darker turn. The night was dark and quiet around 12:30 a.m. I was heading home from a friend's place, walking through the familiar streets toward my house. As I turned the corner onto my street, I noticed a figure approaching. It was a grown man, walking in the opposite direction, yet behind me due to the corner turn. Initially, I thought little of it until he suddenly shifted his gaze toward me and changed his course, heading directly in my direction. Admittedly, I felt a prickle of unease. Instinctively, I picked up my pace, and so did he. With each step, my heart raced a little faster. I reached my driveway, hoping that this was enough to signal I'd reached my destination, that he'd assume I was home. Unfortunately, he continued walking toward me, and the sense of unease deepened. I hurried inside and kept a watchful eye from the window. To my dismay, he started pacing up and down the street, occasionally walking further and then retracing his steps, almost as though he couldn't make up his mind. The tension mounted as I realized his persistence. I had no idea what his intentions were, but his repetitive actions were nothing short of eerie. His glances toward my house were unsettling, making me feel like I was being watched from the shadows. The uncertainty of his purpose and the repeated rounds past my home left me with an uncomfortable sense of foreboding. It was a relief when he finally departed, leaving me with an unsettling feeling that lingered long after he was gone.